This is Hannibal from the HannibalTV.com, and I'm with former WCW star and current SWE Fury competitor Malia Hosaka. Used to be managed on one occasion by Sonny Ono, who's appeared on this channel many times. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great today. Thank you for having me on. And yep, Sonny Ono and I go all the way back to WCW as a great manager.
Do you have the martial arts background that Sonny Ono had?
I do not. I have some martial arts background, but I'm more of the old school veteran Debbie Combs, Leilani Kai, Judy Martin background.
Who trained you for wrestling?
I was trained by Killer Kowalski at Misty Blue Sims' school in New York, and then I was taken under Leilani and Judy's wing when I was at LPWA, and then further trained by Debbie Combs.
Now, Leilani was in the very first WrestleMania, I believe. What was she like as a trainer?
Very tough. It was always no excuse, get up, do it again, do it better, do it faster, do it crisper, and very much about the technique and making sure it looked great.
I don't want to really put a date on it, but when did you break into the business?
I can give you the exact date. August 7th of 1987 was my first match in Holyoke, Massachusetts.
How was the business back then compared to now on the independent scene? It seems like there was a lot more places to work.
There were a lot more independent places to work, but a lot less girls to work. And you really, in order to get booked as a female wrestler, you had to have a lot of talent and somebody within the business that had a really good name kind of pushing for you to help get your name out there when you were first getting started. But it was really different because the talent pool of women was nowhere near what it is today.
Was there any particular female wrestler that you watched growing up that made you want to get into the business?
It was more my dad was a fan of it, and I wasn't really a fan of it, but I watched a match between Bugsy McGraw and the Missing Link, and looking back now, it was such a genius of a match of how they did it, but at the time, I just thought it was the stupidest thing on TV, and I'm like, Dad, I could do that. Anybody could do that. My dad dared me to do it. I made some contacts. I got in touch with Misty, and I went up and got trained, and then after that, it was just a matter of networking and getting my name out there and getting booked, and then the more I did it, the more I fell in love with it.
The Missing Link, he's actually Canadian. For those who don't know, he's passed away now, but he was very popular here in the Texas territory. I assume you're from Texas then?
No, I'm actually originally from Honolulu, but I saw him on Florida Championship Wrestling because I moved there and spent the rest of my life growing up there.
What brought you to Texas?
SWE Fury. I heard it had some of the best girls out there, and when I heard that Miranda Gordy put Jazz out of the business, I had to come check out this second generation girl.
Miranda is very impressive, I have to say, and I'm not just saying that. I watched one of her matches recently, and she literally beat the heck out of the other lady and won the match, retained her title. Do you mind getting rough in these years? You've been in the business probably, you started in 87, we're 2020 now, it's a long time.
It's over 30 years and not at all. I feel like the girls today, as much as the talent pool is out there, they do not have the backbone of the girls that I had to come up in the industry against, like Luna Vachon, Debbie Combs. I mean, these were some of the toughest girls that were out there in the business at the time. And I held my own when I was about 100 pounds lighter than I am now. So I don't think Miranda's going to be an issue.
Luna Vachon is one of the crazy characters in all of wrestling, male and female. Any memories of her?
Luna was my wrestling mom. She was one of the first ones I ever got in the ring against, and she took me all over Florida with her and just kind of taught me the ropes until I went to LPWA. I have really great memories, but I think one of the first memories I ever have of her is my very first match. She kind of stuck her head around the corner and she growled at me, and then she skipped across the locker room and went, "Hi, I'm Luna." And I was like, okay, who growled? Because somebody over there growled at me. And but no, it was awesome, and I love Luna, and I miss her dearly.
They put her in the legacy wing of the Hall of Fame, which I don't even know what that is. They kind of they put Bruiser Brody in the same class. Some of the people that are actually more deserving than the ones that are in the real Hall of Fame. Why do you think they didn't put her in the actual Hall of Fame?
Politics. I think a lot of the stuff that comes down in wrestling all comes down to politics. She is a legacy wrestler. She was legacy from her uncle and her aunt to her dad and everyone, but she definitely deserves her own accolades and glory as being in the Hall of Fame as Luna Vachon, because she came from being I remember watching her get her head shaved when she joined Kevin Sullivan and The Missing Link. She went on. She had a tough career. She made it through all of the dry spells in wrestling and emerged and worked with some of the greatest women that a lot of people remember from her era that were not wrestlers, and she made them look fabulous in the ring.
Yeah, including Sable.
Absolutely, including Sable. More than once she was in the ring against Sable, and Luna took care of her. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, Luna was a tough cookie, and she was snug, but if she didn't like you, you would have known it, and she did take care of Sable all the time.
You're probably best remembered for Canadian fans anyways for your time in WCW, the matches you had there. How did you get recruited to work with them back when they were at their peak in popularity?
I was actually on a show in Georgia, and Terry Taylor was on that same show. He watched my match. He asked me if I was interested in working for WCW, and I was like, let me think about that one. And he called me up. He brought me in. I had to wrestle Medusa. I think at the time she really wanted a lot of the Japanese girls brought in, and I was kind of the way to kill two birds with one stone. I was a local girl. I was also half Japanese, so it satisfied her. But yeah, Terry was really a huge part of it. And then Debbie Combs, again, being right in my corner, just pushing me and making sure that I did everything that I needed to do when they called.
As far as your experience there, how would you describe your experience?
It was a good time. I mean, I enjoyed it. People remember my time there a lot differently than I do. Sonny says that I was a major part of the women's division, which I'm very flattered that he says that and he feels that way. At the time for me, though, I really just kind of felt like I was the girl they called when they needed to deal with somebody that didn't have an ego or an attitude. Hey, we need somebody to do this. Who do you think will do it? And that was always my positions. I come in, I do my job. Whatever you need, that's what I'm going to give you.
Did you ever have any talks with WWE? I know those weren't the prime years for ladies wrestling.
I was actually under contract with WWE from 99 to 2000. When I signed my contract, my initial role was to be called Aphrodisia and manage Papi Chulo. They determined that Lita had a better look for it and kind of sent me home to just write out my contract. I had suggested to them to let me be the Dudley sister because at the time they were all divas, and I'm not a diva by any means. I'm like the girl next door. So it's like I can like be the Catholic school girl, the ugly girl, and be like, Bubba, please don't hurt him. I love him, Bubba. And I just thought that would be awesome. And but they just kicked that to the wayside and let me write out my contract and release me without really doing anything.
What are your views on wrestling today? Because obviously it's a different time. You would have had a lot more opportunities if you had been born 25 years later. What do you think it is compared to how it was?
Oh, 25 years late to 20 years too early. I think the talent pool out there is tremendous. There are so many talented wrestlers out there, but there is an art to telling a story in the ring. And sadly, that art is being lost. Back when I first started working with Nora Greenwald, who went on to become Molly Holly, we did a lot of high spot type matches where it was just spot after spot after spot. And Dean Malenko came to us and told us we needed to slow down. We needed to let the fans digest what we were doing and to catch up with us because the American fans weren't used to that. And we had to really step back from that and learn to work with that and go in that direction. And it seems like now that's what it is. It's just instant gratification and no true heels, no true faces. Everybody just wants to go out and fly around the ring and do all these amazing moves for no reason that have no meaning behind them. And the art that is there, taking the fans into your hand and leading them where you want them to go, is being lost. And if you can recapture that art with the type of talent that there's out there today, I think wrestling would be on a huge high again.
Now, Tessa Blanchard is very popular, but she's had her share of controversy. She was named the men's champion of Impact. She never dropped the title. She hasn't re-signed with a major company yet. What's your opinion of her, and what do you think is going to happen with her?
I frankly don't really care what happens to Tessa Blanchard or her career or anything about her. Tessa and I had our issues at WOW. I tried to be professional about it and give her some professional respect, but that last straw was crossed at WOW last year. If she's around, if she's in the locker room, I wish her no ill. I'm not going to go out of my way to try to say anything bad about her, but I don't have anything good to say about her either.
As far as WOW, what's the status of that right now?
We're on hiatus. between Jeannie Buss, who is the owner of WOW, losing Kobe Bryant, and then COVID starting, I think that her I don't want to say entertainment company, but her financial position and everything like that. She's just kind of waiting out to see where things are going to go as far as for basketball to come back and us to be able to get back into wrestling. And plus, we're a California-based company, and California just keeps going back into complete lockdown. So we're just on hiatus waiting for things to open back up.
Now, our champion up in Great North Wrestling in Canada is Lufisto. Have you ever worked with her?
I've never shared a ring with Lufisto. I've been on several shows with her. I have a tremendous amount of respect for her. She is a tough girl. But, you know, there again, she has said some things about me, and she has said that I've said some things that were not true. And so rather than just trashing her or saying anything bad, I wish her well. And if we cross paths, we cross paths.
Interesting. I wasn't aware of that. As far as the current WWE or AEW top females, is there any, let's say maybe your top three that you wish you could get in the ring with if you had the opportunity?
I think I'd like to work Charlotte Flair because I've heard a lot of good things about her. Ronda Rousey, because I wasn't a huge fan of her and her, Ultimate Fighting days, but I would like to see what she knows about our ring and our style. And other than that, I'm really not too familiar with any of the other girls up there. Maybe, Becky Bayless or champion now. Or
I don't know. Is it Sasha Banks? That's
Sasha
the
Banks.
one.
That's it, Sasha Banks. I'm like, I can see her. I can see her doing her thing. But yeah, I couldn't remember her name. But yeah, maybe one of them. Honestly, I don't follow wrestling anymore because I like to be entertained, and the high spots I'm wowed by, and I can sit there and go, "That's amazing. That was beautiful. That was awesome." But I'm old school. I like the story. I wanna be on the edge of my seat, wondering what's going to come next.
So what advice would you give to the female wrestlers out there watching this about being more entertaining?
Being more entertaining, I think it's finding a middle ground between the old school and the new school way of finding that art and telling the story and doing all the flashy, fancy moves. But the one rule I always had in wrestling was, because I was also part of the Diva era, is if I have to tell my dad not to watch it, it was something that I didn't need to do. So as long as you can look at yourself in the mirror and you are the one that's making the decisions, then by all means, do what you've got to do to make it in the business. But, the ladders you go up are the same ones you come back down on. So just be careful who you step on as you do it.
Did you ever cross paths with Chyna when you were in WWE?
I did. I actually crossed paths with Chyna when she was still Joni Lee on the independent circuit, long before she was ever signed. And then she was at WWE when I was there. She was at the time, I believe, working Chris Jericho. Jeff Jarrett. She had a feud going on with him. I like Chyna. She was nice. And like I said, I knew her as Joni Lee, and I was very happy, that she got her break up there. It was a sad day when she passed.
What do you think about all the speaking out stuff that's been coming out probably since the summer, maybe a little bit earlier? You never heard about that back when you were in your peak years. Not to say you're out of them now. You're still looking great.
Thank you.
But this has come out in recent years. What's your opinion on it?
One, I think intergender matches have blurred the lines between violence and women against women. I don't believe in intergender matches. I don't believe that a child watching an intergender match is empowered by watching a woman get beat up by a man, or watching or feels empowered as a woman watching the woman come back and beat the guy up. So I really believe that's blurred the lines. But as far as the speak out goes, there are girls I know that were part of domestic violence. There are girls, again, back when I was in WCW in that time frame, it was huge, not just in wrestling, but in life in general, to roofie girls. And I'd never understood that. But but if this is your circumstance, if you've had that, then my heart bleeds for you. And I'm 100% you coming out and speaking out. But if you just did the director's couch to get a job, you need to own that. You had a choice. You could have said yes. You could have said no. You chose your career and you chose to say yes over that. So don't come out and say so-and-so abused his power and made me sleep with him so that I could get a job, because that wasn't it. You chose to have a career and you chose to sleep with him rather than jeopardize your opportunities in this industry by saying no.
Now, Teal Piper was a part of WOW. I spoke with her recently, and she really impressed me. I haven't actually seen her in the ring yet. What's your opinion of her?
God bless Teal. I love her to death. She's such a sweetheart. Teal is great on a mic. I love her on a mic. I think she would do great following her father's footsteps, doing something like Piper's Pit. As far as her in-ring skills go, she doesn't pick it up as easily as other girls. She's and she openly admits she's not a super athletic girl, so it is harder for her. So she's not as far along in her training as she should be or as she could be, for the simple fact that her athleticism just isn't there. And but I hope she gets it. I mean, she throws a hell of a forearm. I took forearms from her. I think they're amazing, but it's just the basics that she struggles with to really get. And some people do. Some people just don't pick it up fast.
Now, with Sonny Ono being friends with you, did he ever send you over to Japan?
He did not. I think he's primarily working with the men, but I have joked with him and said, hey, send me. I want to go too. But I also think I'm kind of a little old for Japan. I think the Japanese girls kind of retire by the time 25, and I've already been in the business over 30 years, so I'm not really sure that Japan would be interested in having me over. But if he wants to send me, I would go in a heartbeat.
And where can people follow you if they want to check you out on Facebook?
Facebook is Malia MDM Hosaka. My Twitter is @ModernDayMula, and my Instagram is Malia_Hosaka.
Modern Day Moolah, why was that a name given to you or something that you chose?
Something I chose to pay respects to the generation before me, but also because I am the last of my generation, much like Moolah was the last of her generation, still being active in the industry.
Very good. And as far as SWE Fury, what do you think of this women's division here? Jazz has been training some phenomenal athletes. In my opinion, it's some of the best action I've seen in female wrestling.
I think SWE Fury has one of the top women's divisions out there. They are very young, though, and they have a lot of learning to do in the ring. Couldn't have a better mentor than Jazz to be out there and learning from, though. However, I also look forward to being a part of it and showing them the in-ring learning that they're missing because Jazz is retired.
Well, she's not retired. She's actually back wrestling for Impact. You probably didn't know that, right?
No, actually, I do know that, but she's told me she's only wrestling for Impact because I've asked her. I'm like, hey, I got people that want to book you. And she said she's just working for Impact right now.
I see. Any closing remarks for the fans here tonight?
Just that if you get a chance to check out SWE Fury, that right now would be the place to go to watch some upcoming rising stars and some great women.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Support us on patreon.com for $1.99 a month to watch our full shoot interviews ad-free and help our channel grow. Follow us on Twitter @the Hannibal TV for instant updates.